Hey guys, this is MilkTeaV, and in this video, I'm gonna be teaching you how to set up your macro with Nox so you can buff your party automatically. So what we are looking to achieve with this setup is, number 1, the priest must join the party. Number 2, the priest must buff the party. Number 3, the priest must leave the party. And finally, the macro needs to repeat steps 1 to 3. The reason why we don't want our priest to be part of the party is we don't want to share our loot and experience with the priest. You are gonna need at least 3 accounts for this, or if you have a friend who doesn't mind being in your party, then 2 is enough. 1 slave priest and your main character. The reason for this is when there are only 2 people in a party and 1 member leaves, the party will be disbanded. The next time you try to join the party with your priest, your main character will need to accept the party invitation. This will not work with the macro, and thus we need to have a 3rd member in our party, regardless if it's your account or not, to prevent the party from disbanding. So before we record our macro, we first need to make sure that we meet these following conditions. Number 1, you have to have your slave priest on Nox. Now I understand that some of you guys might not have the resources to run multiple instances of Nox. That is why the bare minimum for this is only 1 window, and your priest account needs to be the one on Nox. Number 2, you need to turn off power saver mode on your priest account. I'll explain why later. Number 3, you need to create a party with your main character. Go to party settings up here and set the auto accept option to guild and friends. In addition, make sure your slave priest and your main character are friends, so your priest can instantly join the party without the need for accepting. Next, invite your ghost party member in the party. Finally, number 4, make sure your priest is not in the party. I repeat, make sure your priest is not in the party. So now that we have that out of the way, let's move on to finding the macro button. As you can see, my party is currently leveling, and I need to buff my party. Next, we must look for the macro button. You can hover your mouse pointer on each option and wait a few seconds to show what the button is for. Now, depending on your window size, you might not be able to see your macro button on the right. To solve this, either drag your window like this to make it bigger so the button will appear, or if you prefer having a small window, press on the double arrow that is located on the lower right to show more options. After finding the macro button, go ahead and click it. There should be a small window that will pop out. So before we start recording, again, make sure your priest is not in your party and that it is friends with your main character. Next, using your priest, you need to select your main character. You'll know you did it correctly if your main character's mini portrait shows up here. Now, I mentioned earlier that you need to uncheck your power saver mode. That is because when the game switches to power saver mode, this mini portrait will disappear. We need this mini portrait because it is a fast way to join the party. If you missed unchecking your power saver mode, go ahead and uncheck it now. So the next thing that we are gonna do is we're gonna start recording our actions. To do this, either press F1 or click on this play button right here. Next, click your main character's portrait. A small window will pop out. Click apply to make your priest join the party. Now that you're in the party, click on your buffs, and after casting all your buffs, click the party button right up here, leave the party and press confirm. Now that we're done, we need to click the stop button on the macro recorder window to stop recording. You will now see a new entry which will probably be named Record 1. You could change the file name to your liking. Let's name this one Slave Priest. Please do note that the speed that the macro will run entirely depends on how fast you do the actions. To be as efficient as possible, try to do everything fast while making sure you don't miss your buffs. Now we need to set how the macro loops and how long before it does the loop again. Click this button between the play button and the X button. If you want your macro to run a specific number of times, let's say you want it to run 5 times, choose the first option, If you want your freeze to buff forever until you manually stop the macro, choose the second option. If you want your freeze to buff only within a set amount of minutes or hours, choose the third option. I want my freeze to buff forever until I tell it to stop, so I'll choose the second option. You now need to set the interval. Putting 10 seconds here would mean your freeze would repeat all the actions every 10 seconds. I personally set mine at 60 because I want my buffs to be refreshed every minute. Just a quick word of advice, after a few minutes, sometimes the macro would just suddenly stop working and my priest would end up walking somewhere. I haven't figured out why it does this, but I suggest every now and then, when the macro is running, check your priest to make sure that everything is okay. And we are all done. All we need to do now is save and press the play button. Now for the purpose of this video, I will be doing the process again to show you how it's done at normal speed. I set the interval at 10 seconds so I can show you guys how it works and so that we don't have to wait for a couple of seconds before the macro runs again. So yeah, I hope you guys are successful with your macro. If you guys have better ideas or suggestions, leave a comment below. Also, I am very open to suggestions as to what kind of videos you guys want next. I am thinking of making a guide on how to optimize your Ragnarok controls for a better and efficient way of playing on your Nox. Once again, this is MilkTeaV. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you next time.
Maybe you should take it slow.